Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Changing the World Now radio show. I'm your host, Jeff Scarrett, and we got a really great show this week. It's April the 15th, 2012, and after listening to last week's session, I guess it wasn't last week, it was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? So with the wonders we're talking about our commonality and how so often all we tend to see is the differences in each other. And, you know, if you look at the world, there's so much going on, you know, basically because of our own unwillingness to get past this. And it's definitely a worthy discussion, something we don't really talk about very often. You know, maybe we do with each other, but as a society on the whole, we don't really get into this. So I decided I'd continue on with that, with the wonders, and see where it would lead. And it was a really cool session. We taped it last week, and I'm sure you'll all find it really enlightening. We went to some pretty interesting places, that's for sure. On another note, there's lots of really interesting workshops coming up with the wonders. The first one coming up would be called The Benefits of Laughter to Change on April the 14th to the 15th. And following that, we have Recipes for Health. Many of you who listen to the wonders know that the health protocol and all kinds of health advice have been given over the years. So this is another workshop all about that, April the 28th to the 29th. And then after that, we have Reviewing and Exploring the Choices That Limit. That's on May the 18th to the 22nd. And following that is Healing the Self, the Journey. And that is on June the 9th to the 12th. Hey, that's my birthday. That's pretty cool. Would you look at that? And then following that is a really exciting retreat coming up this summer at the end of June for 2 weeks called Exploring the Illusions That Change Life. Wow. So, you know, for any of you out there who are curious about just what a Wonders retreat is like or what goes on, you know, these workshops, it's really a beautiful thing. You know, it's exploring limitlessly with a limitless source. How about that? So, I mean, and on top of that, beautiful people into exploring, into discovering more about themselves, changing their consciousness, changing their lives, you know, organic food, lots of time to absorb and explore. And it's just, you know, I mean, picture your place where you can explore anything you could possibly imagine without any limit whatsoever. I mean, wow. You know, just the fact that that opportunity exists for everyone is pretty incredible. So, you know, I could go on, right? So if that's your thing, you know, it's available to you. And on that note, let's get to the session. And thanks again for tuning in, everyone. If there's any questions, comments, or anything, by all means, send me an email. Because, in the future, I would like to do a question-answer show, you know, audience questions. If there's anything you guys want to ask, by all means, I will ask it. So send them on in. And on that note, let's just get to the session. Many thanks, as always, to Renee and Maggie. And thanks to you guys for listening. And I hope you all enjoy. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Yes, we have this one.
Thank you. May we begin?
Please.
Okay, Jeff.
Greetings, Wonders.
Greetings, Jeff.
We're going to do a continuation today on the first show that we did. And when we ended off, we finished talking about our exploration of our commonality as opposed to our differences. And so let's say a group of people want to get together and change the world, like you suggested, and the goal we see or want would be for the world to come together as a sort of group human consciousness. But where we're at now, everything is so defined and we're all so limited in our own little definitions. Can we expand on where we're at now to get to that end point?
Well, you're in the toilet. Look at it from this perspective. In order to shift yourselves into a perspective of commonality, it requires a willingness to observe all aspects of yourself within yourself. How can you see in another anything that resonates to you if you can't see it inside yourself? When you look at people around you, you see differences. You see hair color, eye color, height, sex. You see personality differences. But you focus only on the differences. You don't look at the other and say, oh, they have brown hair just like me. They have blue eyes just like me. Instead, you look at them and say, oh, they have brown eyes, I have blue. They have brown hair, I have blonde, etc., etc. Do you see? And the same applies, of course, to personality traits. Same applies to psychologies, belief structures, limitations. If you really want to establish any form of commonality, of course, it requires a willingness to observe everything inside of you, because if you can't observe everything, you'll only observe part. And if you only observe part, well, then there's so much that you haven't observed that everyone else around you has that you'll never be able to relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it from that perspective, there's one way, really, truly, easy way to be able to get past all of this. And that's the fourth defining statement that we've given humanity.
Mm-hmm.
That which you are is that which I am. And that which I am is that which you are. Mm-hmm. That is a statement of commonality, if you want to call it that. It isn't a statement stating differences. It's a statement of commonality. And if you look at it, truly understand it, and apply it to your existence, well, then all of a sudden it becomes that which forms the basis for all of humanity, group to group, individuals to individuals, to start working, start moving rather than working, moving towards a goal of elevation of spirituality, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. We know you like to talk about all kinds of things today, but we're going to actually focus a little bit more on the elevation of the spiritual aspect of humanity. How's that?
Sounds great.
However,
that was my second question.
Was it now? Good. Good for you. So the key here is to realize that as you establish this commonality, what are you looking for? Are you looking to find out that somebody has the same car as you, or someone has the same family as you? They have 2 boys and a girl, or 2 girls and a boy. Doesn't matter. No. What you're looking to see is the common denominator of every individual, which is the spiritual essence of the individual. And by spiritual here, we're not talking about religious. We're not talking about the belief structure that says that God is this, or God is that, or the Prophet Muhammad is really the leader, or the Prophet Jesus is really the leader, etc., etc. This isn't about that. This is not about, this is how you observe your God. This is the technique and the methodology that you use. That's not what we're talking about here. That's all religion. That's all man-made religious definitions that individuals agree to observe in order to tap into their own sense of spirituality. Mm-hmm. What we're saying here is, let's explore in each individual, find the common denominator of spirituality. And the common denominator is very easy to find. And if you look at it from one perspective, there isn't one human being on the planet, not one, that doesn't have within themselves an essence of existence. Mm-hmm. It's that simple.
It's true.
And regardless of what the personality is like, regardless of whether you like the person or don't like the person, whether they're mean, nasty, and miserable, or whether they're really nice and loving and expansive, whether they were a Hitler or a Mother Teresa, it doesn't matter. What matters is that each individual, regardless of the personality as it expresses itself, has within themselves an essence of existence. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, then why not use your knowledge, your awareness of yourself, to start observing in yourself and in others that essence of existence? Mm-hmm. Why not start looking not into why you choose something, but rather that you do choose something, that choice exists within your essence of existence, that ability to choose. Now, we've been speaking here for a long time to humanity about choice, about the ability to choose. And to some degree, some of you have gained the awareness that, yes, I can make a choice. Some of you still believe that others choose for you. or God chooses for you, or someone else chooses for you, or society chooses for you, or circumstances chooses for you. But really, each and every human being and each and every essence that exists, and this is just human being, but we'll go and talk about the other essences, the animals and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
They all have the ability to choose. Whether they exercise it or not is not important. It's that it exists there. So if you can go inside yourself and you can see inside yourself that you are an essence that exists, and in that essence there is an ability, an inherent ability, built in, hardwired, if you want to call it that, to choose. Well, then you can look around you and you'll see that other essences of existence also have the hardwired ability to choose. Now, there's a subtlety here. When you look at yourself as a human being and you're looking at yourself through your mind and through your ego personality, you're going to judge your ability to choose.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to judge your essence of existence. So the key is to observe and without judgment as much as you can. And eventually you'll get to the point of observing and without judgment entirely. And when you get to that point, you'll see subtleties. Certain subtleties, and the universe really, and this is the beauty of the universe, it isn't obvious. It's a subtle universe you exist in. Yes, it would seem that certain things are very impactful. A meteor smashing into the planet, destroying a whole culture, a whole race. Yeah, that's impactful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But really, underlying all of that, there is a subtlety of existence. It's still there. So when you look around you and you look at the animals around you, you look at the people around you, you look at the birds around you, you look at the insects around you, you'll see that in everything, and even in the plants, there is an essence of existence. Mm-hmm. Even in the planet itself, even in the rocks, there is an essence of existence. Even that meteor has an essence of existence. Mm-hmm. And when you can observe that within yourselves, well then, it'll be easy through the subtleties, the observance of your own subtleties. You'll observe the subtleties in everything around you, and you'll begin to recognize that in that essence of existence, there is inherent within it the ability to choose. And your scientists today, when they observe the universe, they observe the planetary systems, they observe the celestial bodies as they move. They don't observe this subtlety of existence, and they don't observe this ability to choose. They observe an effect, and they look for a cause, but they do not observe the ability to choose.
Mm-hmm. It's like we're trying to find the meaning in existence so desperately that we forget to observe that we even exist.
Exactly. And you forget to observe the meaning, which is, the meaning is, quite simply, that you have the ability to choose.
Mm-hmm. Too simple.
Well, of course. But the more you observe that, the more you'll gain an awareness and an understanding, if you want to call it that, and certainly an expanded awareness of it, of the fourth defining statement.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it from that perspective, well then, you begin to create that commonality. And why would you choose to harm anything around you when you know that that harm is directly proportional to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Buddhists oftentimes go to great lengths not to harm certain insects. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking to themselves that it could be an incarnated soul. The concept has value. The delivery is off a little. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Of course they have an essence of existence. But it isn't that you have to fear walking on an insect. It happens, after all. That's what an insect is for. It chooses to be there. It's not that it would, from its own awareness, would it sit there and say, great, I can't wait till that shoe hits me? But at the same time, it's not going to sit there and think about it and think to itself, great, there's a shoe coming down at me. You see? You oftentimes, people assign to all kinds of things, including insects and plants and animals and bodies of celestial bodies, they assign human values.
Judgments.
Of course.
Yeah.
So get rid of that, and you'll start recognizing that there's a simple commonality, that all things exist, and exist in harmony. There is a harmony to all of existence. If one thing begins to become disharmonious, well then, existence rebalances itself. And that's why you oftentimes see, from a planetary perspective, from the planet Earth perspective, for example, you'll see that sometimes there is an adjustment to the planet. A tsunami here, an earthquake there, a volcano there, a typhoon here, a tornado there, etc., etc. You see? It's just the planet rebalancing itself. That you happen to be in the way. The planet doesn't sit there and say to itself, oh, I better not rebalance myself because Jeff Scarrett's sitting right there. And it just sits there and it just does it. Too bad that you're in the middle of it. You see? It doesn't even consider you. It's not even part of its consideration. Do you see? So consider it from that perspective, and then you'll start to realize that for humanity to really, truly shift, the best that it can do is to observe itself without judgment and observe its essence of existence.
As far as like, the political struggles and all of the war and strife going on in the world, it almost seems like why would anyone, given everything that's at stake for everyone that wants to control, why would they even entertain that?
Well, again, though, you've got personality here. You've got egos. Egos want to be satisfied. Some egos want to be greater than. Others want to be lesser than. And surprisingly enough, many would prefer being in a lesser than position than being in a greater than position. And a few would love to be in a greater than position rather than being in a lesser than position. So the resultant is you have a push-pull going on throughout all of humanity. This is going to go on until such time as humanity, humans such as yourself, don't observe within themselves this essence of existence. If everyone observed it, if everyone knew this within themselves, and not just in a mental concept of knowing, oh yeah, I know this, but rather an actual conscious observation of this essence of existence that they are. If everyone knew it, and by knowing we mean deep down in all aspects of this themselves knowing, well then there wouldn't be ego personalities pushing one way or the other. They would find themselves commanding their minds instead of letting their minds control them, and they would find themselves creating an ego reflective of this essence of existence, rather than trying to create an ego that wants to be greater than because they're afraid their psychologies and belief structures are limited and are based on fear.
And we'd start to see, or you'd think we'd start to see that we could accomplish and expand so much if we actually had that perspective.
Yes. This session must end, dear friend.
Okay.
Wonders, may we move to end this session?
Are you certain you want to end it?
Well, Wonders, may we pause? Just
There
a
you
moment
go.
Yeah. I thought we could end it so Renee could make his comments, but we shall pause. And
Best to pause. Do you want comments from dear Renee?
do you, Jeff?
We can just keep going, and he could
Okay.
comment at the end of it all. And
Good. I will put a track in here and we'll keep going.
Well, it's either that or end and return and come back, and your choice.
Yeah, well, we might as well just pause. Let me put a track in here.
A pause for the cause.
Yes.